Back when I was a kid, I wished I was Marty McFly. Jump in my DeLorean and go to the future. Now, as an adult collector, I want you to join me in my journey to the past so I can share my stories with you about movies, cartoons, toys, and video games. Welcome, everybody. You're watching Randy Collector. Hi, guys. Today, I will tell you my story with my favorite movie trilogy of all time. And my favorite movies of all time. Back to the Future. Okay, we need to go back when I was around 6 or 7 years old whenever I discovered Back to the Future Part 1. My oldest brother Percy, aka my movie guru, he rented it at our local VHS store. The reason why I call my oldest brother my movie guru is because at least the movies that I watched before I had free will to choose were because of him. And I thank God that he had and still has good taste. Or at least I think so. Now, going back to my story. I remember my brother will call me whenever he just rented a movie. He would say, "Hey Randy, come on over, let's watch a movie." And of course, I would say yes most of the time. For me, it was a very special time, not only because it was an opportunity to spend time with him or with my family in general, but also because I was fascinated by the American culture, or at least what they portrayed it and made me believe in the movies. It's one of the main reasons why I came to this country. Something that I will talk in another video. Percy didn't used to give me any info about the movies that we were going to watch. Reason being because usually all the movies we rented back in the day, they had a trailer of its own before watching it. Now that I think about it, it's kind of weird. The moment that I saw the trailer for Back to the Future, I was hooked. And to be honest, now that I think about it, it's kind of rare because I was very young to be drawn to a regular movie per se, and not a kid's one. I remember as soon as the trailer was done, I begged my brother to rent it the next time. And he said, maybe we will watch it sooner than you think. And we did. I was so excited for this film just by watching the trailer. One of the first things that I liked about this movie was that it happened in the 80s, even though I was watching it in the 90s already. I think I was, and I still am, drawn to the 80s era, and that includes movies, music, video games, action figures, as you can see in the background, cartoons, and some fashion. And fashion, I mean just sneakers. Talking about fashion, when Marty McFly comes out in the mall scene with his jean jacket, his Nikes, the puffy red vest, his Casio calculator watch, while riding his skateboard, I'm telling you, 6-year-old Randy thought that was the epiphany of cool. Another thing that I liked back then about the movie was the soundtrack. And not only the two amazing songs from Huey Lewis, Power of Love and Back in Time, which until today, whenever I hear them, I cannot just move around, and I love them. But also the main theme song for the movie, it's to me exquisite. While I was watching the movie, I was falling in love with the characters. From Marty, the main character, the eccentric Dr. Brown, at least to me, the misunderstood Biff Tannen, all the way to Mr. Strickland and his famous phrase,
"You're a slacker. You remind me of your father when he went here. He was a slacker too."
Like I said before, even though I was very young when I watched this movie, I found it to be very entertaining, very high paced, and the characters were unique and cartoony in a good way. Something that as an adult, I just realized that that's why I love it as a kid. The special effects were a major factor for this movie, and I think they still hold up. The scenes with the DeLorean were pretty good in my opinion, especially comparing to other 80s movies. Now, as an adult, I found out that Steven Spielberg was involved in this movie, which it made a lot of sense. The whole time during the movie, I was just very focused and amazed from the beginning to the end. Especially the end, whenever Doc Brown with Marty and his girl, they're going in the DeLorean flying away to the future. I remember turning around to my brother and said, I hope they make a part 2. He just looked at me with a big smile and said, just keep watching. The movie, or in this case, the VHS he rented it, had a trailer for part 2 and 3. I couldn't believe it. My wish came true, and very fast. After the trailer, I was happy and excited. But to be honest, I was a little anxious because I was trying to figure it out when I was going to be able to watch number 2 and 3. So my brother immediately surprised me with the second one. He had rented it in advance. Obviously, at the time, I didn't know that all 3 movies already came out. So we didn't waste any time and put it in the VCR. Guys, if the first one, I found it amazing, the second one became my favorite. The whole concept of the future to me was always fascinating. And talking about the future and futuristic stuff, to me, one of the greatest moments in this movie, especially when I was 6 or 7 years old, was when I saw the Auto Lace Nike Max.
Our laces, all right.
In that precise moment, I became a sneakerhead. Well, at least I had interest in sneakers because I was 6, 7 years old. It wasn't until I turned 16 and I had my first job and I was able to buy sneakers. And let me tell you, I was buying them like candy. I became really a part of the sneaker community. I would attend to a lot of conventions. One of them is called, it used to be called Kickspo. And I would meet people, trade sneakers. I was also featured in one of my favorite sneaker magazines that now it's just a website. It was called Soul Magazine. Now going back to the movie, and another aspect of it that I loved so much, like I said before, was what the future could be. And this movie guessed and predicted a lot of things that now are a reality. For example, the use of your fingerprint for various things nowadays. The TV with the multi-view feature. The kind of looking Google glasses. The curtain TVs. Zoom calls. The auto-laced Nike Mags. They're now a reality. The self-serving fast food restaurants. And of course, the most important thing that now it's a reality, flying cars, the Teslas.
I'm kidding.
If we're talking about the story, I think they did a great job. Especially when Marty goes back to his timeline just to discover that everything is messed up with his mom, his dad being dead, and Biff being his stepdad. And all this has to be because of him. Because he was being a little rascal trying to get some money or trying to become a millionaire in his timeline. Another scene that I loved is whenever they have to go back to 1955 and Marty gets to watch Marty playing the guitar. Whenever I was a kid, I love those scenes whenever you can see two people or even more than two people in the same scene, the same actor. I thought that was amazing. You know, I still don't know how they do that. Another thing, it was whenever you see Michael J. Fox portraying his whole family, including him being his daughter. I thought that was hilarious. And obviously, one of the best, in my opinion, is Tom Wilson playing Griff and playing old Biff. It's really, really amazing. Back to the Future 2 left me wanting more. Of course, I already knew there was a part 3, but I didn't know that my nice and kind and cool brother, he rented it too. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Back then, I didn't love it. But as an adult, I think it is as great, and if not, even one of the best ones. Because in my opinion, it has a nice end and conclusion for all the characters. Like I said, as an adult, I appreciate it more, and I was able to recognize a lot of more details and cool things about the movie that I didn't as a kid. The fact that in this one, Doc Brown, it's more of a badass character, creates another layer to him, which we haven't seen in the previous ones. Which Christopher Lloyd, he does it flawlessly, in my opinion. Also, Tom Wilson as Mad Dog Tannen, it's outstanding. You believe it's a new character, different from Biff and Griff, but also not losing that tie that makes them a family. I think back then he should have or deserved an Oscar. I know I'm being a little over the top with that, but you get my point. Another thing I enjoyed about Back to the Future 3 was the subtle reference of Clint Eastwood. Whenever they ask Marty, what's your name? And he thinks he's gonna sound like a badass saying that name, and everybody laughs at him. That's really cool. Also, the band ZZ Tops, not only making an appearance in the movie, but also making the catchy song for the town dance. I thought it was really cool. James Strickland being the sheriff for the town, that makes you understand that the future generations will be aligned with authority, and that makes a lot of sense. Also, they mentioned that they were back then gun salesmen for the Colt's guns, how frisbee was invented. It was very clever too. A lot of fiction and history that connects the movie Back to the Future 3 for with the rest of the other ones. Something that flew right away from me when I was 6-7 years old, and obviously I didn't appreciate it until I was older enough to understand. Once we were done watching the movies, me and my brother were fascinated by them. So when my parents told us that we were going to Universal Studios, my brother got really excited because he knew they had the ride for the movie. Back then, for me, it didn't click until we got there. And let me tell you guys, whenever I was able to experience the ride, it was one of my top moments as a kid. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I was part of the movie. Just being in a DeLorean for the first time, or at least close to a DeLorean, it was surreal to me. I remember the ride was about that you needed to help Doc Brown get the time machine from Biff that stole it. And there's a part that I think you go through time or different parts of times of history in time, and then there's a part where a dinosaur comes in and eats the whole DeLorean with you in it. Really cool for me as an 8-year-old back then. Man, only if I knew that the ride was gonna close in 2007, I would have gone again back when I was 18 years old. The last time I went to Universal Studios was with my family in 2017. Even though the ride was closed, they had the DeLorean and the train for people outside to take pics. Something that I took advantage, and I had fun with them taking some pictures. Another great experience that I got to enjoy was back in 2015, October 21st. A lot of places were celebrating Back to the Future Day, just like in the movie in Back to the Future 2. And Rudy, my second oldest brother, surprised me with, I think is one of my best items in my Back to the Future collection, which is the USA Today newspaper Back to the Future edition. Okay, to put things in context, on October 22nd, 2015, USA Today published a one-time only Back to the Future edition newspaper, resembling the one on part 2. At the time, I didn't know they were gonna do this, but thanks to my brother, I was able to add this amazing item to my collection. In addition to this, on the same day, me and my wife, we were able to go watch Back to the Future Part 1 in the movie theater. Something that I never experienced it back then because I was born the same year the movie released. And not only we watched the movie, but it was more like an event. Reason being, because they had a bunch of DeLoreans parked outside the movie theater, and we were able to take pictures with them. There was a lot of people cosplaying, including myself. So I was able to take a picture with a lot of them. It was really cool. And a lot of people selling related items of the movie. In general, it was more of a Back to the Future party. Guys, I think I speak for most of us movie fans that one of our goals is to meet the actors that portray the characters we love. In this case, I had the opportunity to meet the one and only Michael J. Fox, aka Marty McFly. He was coming to Fan Expo Dallas, so I decided to check one of my bucket list goals and purchase the picture with him. Sad part of this story that unfortunately he canceled last minute, and so far I haven't been able to meet him or take a picture with him. But who I was able to meet and had an amazing pic was with the one and only Tom Wilson, aka Mad Dog Tannen, aka Biff Tannen, aka Griff Tannen. And let me tell you guys, the time I met him, he was super pleasant and joyful. The moment he sees you, he receives you with a loud and genuine, "How are you doing, buddy?" coming in. He asks you, "How would you like to pose for the pic?" And overall, in the 45-50 seconds that I met him, you can tell he's a really, really nice guy, and he cares and appreciates the fans. After watching all 3 movies when I was 6 or 7 years old, I never thought I would go through all these experiences that I just told you in this video. Reason being because I was in Peru. I don't know if you watched my previous 2 videos, but I don't just tell you or review a movie, video game, TV show, or toy, but I tell you my story with it and the experiences that I got from them. And I really, in this opportunity, I want to thank God for blessing me with the supporting family that I have, especially with this crazy fandom that I do call collecting. Saying this, I'm very grateful for my older brother, Percy. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to have the love for this franchise, or even just movies in general. Just the amazing feeling that I get when I go into the movie theater is thanks to him. And for that, I want to say thank you, brother. I love you. The opportunity to experience Back to the Future the ride is all credit to my parents, that with a lot of sacrifice gave us the amazing gift to go to Universal Studios. Something that I'm very thankful for, and I can replicate those memories with my kids, hoping they can do the same thing with their families in the future. No pun intended. To my second oldest brother, Rudy. Thank you, bro, for supporting my love for this franchise with all the awesome gifts you've been giving me through the years. Especially with that awesome USA Today's newspaper that you found and brought it to me. You didn't have to, but you thought about me, and that means a lot to me. And for that, thank you, bro. I love you. And to the most important person in my life besides God, my beautiful wife, Allison. Thank you for letting me have the whole garage to transform it into my game room when you could have said no. But in a serious note, and most importantly, thank you for never judging me for collecting all this stuff. Things that most people could think this is a waste of time or stupid things. You being a part of this while having fun with me, it's what it makes it more special. And for that, I want to thank you, babe. I love you with all my heart.